Last but certainly not least, in the 2019 SWOSU Athletics Hall of Fame class, Richard Ohara grew up in Elk City, where he was an all-around athlete before enrolling at SWOSU in the fall of 1964 to play basketball and baseball for the Bulldogs. He lettered in both sports all 4 years at SWOSU and never missed a practice or a game for either sport his entire career. On the court, he helped SWOSU to the Oklahoma Collegiate Athletic Conference Championship in 1967 and was selected to the All-Conference team while also earning the Blue and White Award. That was voted on by his teammates 3 consecutive years. In baseball, Ohara helped the Bulldogs to a conference championship in 1967 and was a 3-time All-Conference selection. As a senior, he led the team in batting average with a .425 average and was the president of the O Club. After graduating from SWOSU with a bachelor's degree in 1968 and a master's degree in 1971, Ohara started a coaching career that began at Elk City High School. He coached multiple sports before moving to Plainview, Texas to coach basketball from 1977 to 1979. He then transitioned into administration, returning to Weatherford where he worked as the superintendent until 1990 before heading to accept a similar position in Ardmore. Ohara's final stop was in Bridgeport, Texas, where he was the assistant superintendent for 2 years before taking over as the superintendent in 2000 and held that position until his retirement in 2008. He has served as the SWOSU alumni president and is currently in his 2nd year as a sportsmanship observer for the OSSAA in basketball. Ladies and gentlemen, Richard Ohara.
Well, Mike, I'm very appreciative that they got to this before we died. Too. It's been a while, but gosh, I tell you, it's quite an honor to be here with all these people, and especially Mike, you and Julie too are very deserving, and give you compliment that you got into this elite list, and then I'm just tickled to be here. You might, like Minnie Pearl says, I'm just tickled to be here, but. I tell you, it's been a great day for me already. I've got relatives here that I hadn't seen in a long time, and they turned out for this deal. I'm just tickled to death. But first of all, to Mr. Butler, Dr. Butler now, by the way, when we recruited him to get him to come up here and teach for us, it was just Randy, and now it's Dr. Butler. But Dr. Butler and the Hall of Fame committee. Thank you. Thank you for this honor and for being selected to be with the elite Bulldog group that you have here and all the ones that are already in the Hall of Fame. It's quite a list. And just to be on that list is a great honor. So I appreciate that very much. I've got family here, and I'd like to take care of that first. First of all, too, I've got to say that I've been a very, very lucky man to run into someone from Southwestern that actually worked for Southwestern. When I met her, she was working at the Student Union, but Mel has been with me now. We're going to be 50 years in October, but she is the one that really has the glue to the family, and has just been a wonderful partner all the way through our journey that we've been on. But again, thank you, Mel, for all that. Also, I have my 3 children are here and their families. Gina's the oldest daughter, and her husband Matt, and Nikki is here with her husband Brandon, and CR is here with his husband or his wife Ursula. And they surprised me a lot. They just moved to Cheyenne, Wyoming. And he called me this morning and said he was regretful that he wasn't going to be able to be here, and that it was real cold up there and snow on the ground, and he said just good luck, and then the first thing you know, he's here, and he come in the building, so he's here, along with of course the 3 children. I have 9 grandchildren, and they're all here, and so I'll just go through them right quick too. Colton, and we might stand up, Colton and Keaton, and Kenzie Cardokas, and then we have Jackson and Laney and Walker Witt, and then we have Cagney and Rhett and Calvert Ohara. So they're all here. So if you all stand up, all 9, stand up, make sure they know who you're here. Yeah, stand up there. There they are. Yeah, there they are. All 9 of them. Then on top of that, to even get some more surprises, I've got nieces and nephews here that some of their offspring I don't think's ever seen each other, and they're here. But my older brother's son, Chad, is here with his one of his daughters and son, and they come from Austin, Texas today to be here. And also Shelley Brown is here with her two children, and they're from Tulsa. They're here too. And let me see if we missed anybody else. Oh yeah, we got. And Mel's got a nephew here, Troy Kirby from up at Medford, up that way at Pond Creek. So he's here too. So anyway, it's nice to see them all. I haven't seen Chad and his crew in a couple of years, so it's really nice to see them, and big surprise that they're here. So I appreciate that very much. But anyway, again, I can't thank Southwestern enough for all the opportunities and the jobs and all that they have given me. And I start off by thinking about what it takes to the honor that we have here today is an individual honor, but it takes a lot more people and a lot more help to make this achievement. You got to have backing from your family. You got to have some good coaches. You got to have some good teammates, and you got to have a community that supports you. And if you don't have all those factors, you're not going to be going very far sometimes. You got to have that kind of background, and I was very fortunate at the high school level and the college level to have that. And kind of to break that down too, family-wise, we grew up on a cotton farm at Elk City, Oklahoma, about 3 miles east. And anyway, we graduated from Elk City. And by the way, Carolyn over here, Julie's mom, graduated in the same class that I did, and played basketball too now. But Julie, she didn't try to teach you how to shoot, did she?
No, she didn't.
Well, that's good, because she did, because she played guard and never got to shoot, you know. So yeah, so she did. I hope she didn't try to help you. Yeah, so
No, it didn't.
good. Okay, but anyway, Carolyn's in there, and also. I've got a couple of teammates from high school that are here too that played with me back in 1960 through 64. Harlan Hubbard and Sonny Vermillion are back here too. Were teammates with me, so those two guys are back there. So it's good to see them too. Also, we got some coaches that were coaching at Elk City at the same time I was. Hoyt Lewis is here from Elk City. Hadn't seen him in a while, and he's a superintendent of the Votex around here, so he's doing well too. Also, I have a college teammate that's here too. Came here just as I was leaving. He was a freshman. I was a senior. Rick Lindley, back here too from Cordell now. So glad to have you here, Rick. And of course, anyway, back to the farm and back to cotton. We lived on a cotton farm, and I had 3 brothers, and we all loved athletics, and we liked to play athletics. And Dad and Mom. They let us go and practice and play as long as we got our work done. If we got our chores done and our work done, we got to go to town. And that was another reason we liked to play all the sports, because that means we got to go to town more often. And but also, if you have, how many in here have ever chopped or picked cotton? Okay, we got more than I thought. Well, I think that my mom and dad used it as motivation, because if you have picked and chopped cotton very much, it'll give you motivation to do something else. And so it did us, because we decided that most all of us, we decided we wanted to maybe do something else besides that as we grew up. And they sacrificed a lot to make sure that we all got a college education, and we did. And so they sacrificed a lot of things. I remember my dad, some people asked him, well, how do you get your boys to do that work and all, and play all those sports and all? And he said, well, they all like to eat. And he said, that's why they play. He said, they like to come to the table. And so we grew up that way. And also I had some very good coaches at Elk City. I had Bob Thomas as football coach and Jim Archer. And then I had Nelson Peach and Jim Archer in basketball, Jim Keefe in baseball, and then we in high school. And then American Legion, I want to mention one name, is Harry Hess. He traveled with us, and he kept the American Legion program going over there at Elk City. But he was a good factor too. And Mr. Peach was our basketball coach for 3 years. And he was probably one of the best ones to take whatever talent he had and make the best offense or defense type of a game that he could out of the material that he had. And we learned a lot of basketball from him. And then I went to Southwestern, and I'll tell you, it was a godsend that I came here because I got to play pretty soon. And also, Coach Job was here, and he probably, I'll say this, I don't think I could have played for anyone that I would not have learned as much basketball and the fundamentals and how to plan and prepare for a game as I did from Coach Job. He had his practices organized, baseball and also basketball. Anything that we did in practice, it was something you were going to use in a game. You're getting ready for whatever was going to take place in a ball game. So he was a great game planner and taught us a lot on the fundamentals. So Southwestern, I owe the type of people that we had. I also had Coach Devine, and both those guys were Hall of Fame coaches. I had him for 1 year in baseball, and also Coach Delaport was the athletic director. And anyway, we had a lot of good memories, and I see Mr. Brown here and all. Back then, we played, of course, in the Rankin Field House, and we had some good teams, and there were some good athletes in the old collegiate conference is what they called it back then. And I can remember OBU when we played them. You all remember, and we went down to play them. They had an old gym back then. Everybody had old gyms back then, I think, but maybe Central. But OBU, they had an old airplane hangar, and the gym was kind of in that thing, but they had a couple of good players. Of course, one of them, you'll remember the name Al Tucker, if you remember way back when. He played professional basketball too, but he was an outstanding player. But we went over there to play. I never will forget that. It's funny how you remember some things, but we went over to play. I think the game was at 7:30, and we got there about 6 o'clock or so. We walked in the gym at 6 o'clock, and it's packed. It's full at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. And, you know, it just makes you feel so much more like really competing whenever you have that kind of backing. We had a good, faithful backing on the road and at home at that time, if you all remember. Lloyd will remember. But anyway, there was a lot of good athletes in the conference at that time, and it was a good experience to play on a team that had. We had my teammates and even the teammates in high school and in college. It seemed like the best thing that we did was we all knew what role we had to play. We knew what was expected of us, what we were supposed to do. It wasn't so much that anybody was trying to see how many points they were going to make or how many rebounds they were going to get. It was whether we got a chance to win. And everybody knew what to do, when to try to do it, and try to accomplish that as we went along in the game. I need a drink of water. Yeah, give me. Thank you. Thank you. I've not been used to this since I retired, and so it kind of caught me by off deal here, you know. But anyway, and back to teammates. A lot of you will remember. I know Chuck's back there, and a lot of other people were here. But we had a good group that when I started here in basketball. We had Bert Rickner and Skippy Cannon, Lloyd Lacey and Archie McGill, Gilbert Mall, and James Holt all started with us. Of course, a lot of you won't remember them, some of you will. But they were all good teammates, and they tried to do the best that they were supposed to do in the roles that they had to do. We all had a role to do, and it wasn't that you're supposed to get 15 points or anything like that. It was, if you have an open shot, you might get to shoot, you know, that kind of deal. So it was really a good experience that I had here at Southwestern. Now, the community support, again, was something that's very important. And Weatherford, when we were here, give you an example of what type of community support we had. During Christmas break, we were the only ones on campus because we were having to practice before we went to a tournament. We'll be the only ones around. And the cafeteria and all was shut down here on campus, so we had to go downtown. The restaurants fed us downtown. And then I never will forget, too, Woody Sylvester. And I know a lot of you know Woody here in Weatherford, but he had the movie downtown. There was an old movie downtown. Some of you remember that, too, probably. Anyway, he let us, as a basketball team, while we were here in the evenings and all, he let us go to the show down there free. And we were the only ones there, of course, but we got to go to the show free. And we really thought, you know, that's good community support, you know, but that's what we had. And stuff like that you remember as you go along. But also, other community support wise, when I got out of college, I have to thank a few people. One is Mr. Jerry Kirk. He was superintendent at Elk City and the Board of Education over there for taking a chance for hiring a guy right out of college to be the head coach in basketball and baseball over there, which I also had a brother that was a senior. And that's tough whenever you start doing that kind of stuff sometimes. But anyway, they took a chance, and Elk City always was very supportive of the faculty and staff in the community over there. Weatherford, when they came back here as superintendent, the board took a chance again. They hired a guy that had no experience, and we stayed here 11 years, 9 years as superintendent, and then we went on to Ardmore and then to Bridgeport, Texas, after I'd coached at Plainview a couple of years too. But it's really been a good Southwestern. Now, when I was coaching in Texas, I'll give you an example too of Southwestern. We went to the Hobbs, New Mexico tournament, and we went to different tournaments around, but Hobbs, I never will forget, if you know what kind of basketball they play out there, but I had numerous people out there come up and say, "Didn't you go to Southwestern?" And I said, "Yes, I went to Southwestern." They said, "Well, we did too." You know, everywhere that we went, whether it was at Clovis or wherever we'd play, someone would come down and say, "Did you go to Southwestern?" And yes, you know, we did. It makes you proud that a lot of people all over the state and different states too went to Southwestern. So it is an honor to be on this list. And one other thing too about Southwestern too. Whenever I got to be superintendent down in Texas, well, we had to recruit teachers, and we recruited up here at Southwestern too, and Southwestern's reputation was very good in Texas as far as hiring teachers, because they always turned out good teachers that knew what they were doing. And I had superintendents of large districts in Texas that said, "I'll take anybody from Southwestern," and that's the kind of reputation you have. And I got to thinking too of all the different jobs that graduates and alumni from Southwestern have taken and still hold. And you think about what kind of impact they've had on different companies, especially teachers. Think about the impact they've had on lives of all the students. How many people you think that would be? I mean, it's just tremendous. It's tremendous, and it's nice to be an alumni of a college that is so well thought of. And again, I just thank you for this honor. And it's like Mike says, go Dogs. Okay.